Greeting, I'm John O'Toole, and I'm going to do something a little different today. I am going to upgrade one of my daughter's laptops. She has an older Toshiba laptop. It's an i5. Of course, then when I bought it for her, it was like the thing. Let's see, it's an i5. It had Windows 7 and it got the Windows 10 migration. I'll have to boot it up, but I think it has like a 600 gigabyte drive, which at that time it was fabulous. So today I got her a little Christmas present. And what do you think it could be? Well, could it be a WD black terabyte drive? Well, it could be, but it's not. Could it be an ADA? Almost a terabyte drive? And I thought I got a great deal on it on eBay. I think it was like $127 on Black Friday. Which actually it is still a pretty good deal for an almost terabyte drive. And ADATA is a pretty good SSD card. But no, I have for her a Samsung 1 terabyte drive upgrade SSD. And these are nice. Now, I could be wrong, but I think the Samsung drives are like, top of the line. And it has that magic software that comes with it that helps you keep the drivers up to date. Not that once she gets it back in her possession that she'll be sure her drivers stay up to date. But we still get started with that. So I'm going to be using Acronis as my cloning software. I have purchased the full version of it, which is the way to go. Don't look for some kind of free deal out there. Spend the money. You could get it deals on it on Amazon and Newegg, and go for the full package. Don't look for some free thing out there that exists. And I have somewhere in here. I've created so as I have it on a CD. I don't particularly follow the rule yet that CD drives are dead on computers, but I put it on a stick. So I'm either going to use the stick, hopefully successfully did it. I followed Gary Coleman's instructions on how to use Rufus to make a bootable thumb drive. And this is a ScanDisk 16 gig drive. So we're going to install the new terabyte drive in the laptop. We're going to take the old drive and use an enclosure that I have, and we're going to install the old drive in the enclosure, and then we are going to clone between the two the old drive onto the SSD. So if you follow the instructions in Acronis, it will tell you to install the new drive in the computer and then use the old drive in some kind of external drive, whether it's a 2.5 or if it's a desktop computer, you'd be using some means of hooking up the 3.5 through a well, you could install it on one of your SATA ports in your desktop also. You just have to make sure that you're not cloning the wrong drive. So that could get kind of touchy, as we'll see. But at least this drive is 1 terabyte versus the smaller drive that's in the laptop at the moment. And the other thing I want you to pay particular attention to is how long it takes for me to hit the power button. Well, it doesn't take long to hit the power button. Who are you kidding? We want to check and see when I hit the power button, you want to see how long it takes to boot up with the hard drive in it versus the SSD. So alrighty, so let's get started, shall we? So we have 6 gigs of RAM installed. We could go to 8, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of difference between the two. It's a 2.3 gigabyte, so it's not the fastest one in the block. So it's an i5 2410M, and it's a satellite L755. For those of you at home that are taking notes. Yeah. So let's just see what she has. So she has a 580 gigabyte drive, and she has 133 gigabytes free space. And I think that most of that is in photos. My daughter takes after me as a photographer, and she has lots of photos. So we will give her some room. We'll basically double her capacity and give her another 600 gigabytes of space for her stuff. And then hopefully give her some speed. Now I could have put in the ADATA drive into the laptop, but I think that, well, it is my daughter. I was actually going to install this into my system and double my capacity on my C drive, but then I thought that I'd be a sweet dad and give her the top of the line drive. Oh, so the Samsung I bought on I think it was Cyber Monday or whatever it was, but they dropped this price on this drive to $129, which I just thought was a steal. And they kept that price until the end of December. But I only was in my budget to buy one. Otherwise I would have bought a second one. And I think the prices of these drives are all coming down because they're going to a new version of a memory chip. And those memory chips are going to be like twice as much for some period of time. So, you know what I should do is make a rescue disk of this. So let's see if we can boot this up in So now the challenge is to get the laptop to boot up into BIOS so that I could change the boot order to boot up off of the SD, the thumb drive. And it's not the delete key. This is not a sponsored plug. I have to keep these in my filing cabinet because there's a mouse that runs around the house and will help themselves. Not that my two cats have anything to do with paroling. The laptop doesn't have any USB 3 ports on it. May not make sense to clone the drive this way. I obviously don't want to go back in the box. So now we're at the clicking of the second disc, and this is where you have to be real careful. You have to make sure you're clicking on the correct empty DVD. I'm sorry, the empty disc, and not the one that has data. Now, if you got these backwards, you would wipe out your boot disk, and that would make me a very, very, very unhappy father. An extremely pissed off daughter. Oh, it says 931, so it doesn't use the whole terabyte. Part of it is used for management, and that's the destination. And the source is the one that's the 596. And off it goes. Okay, so here I took the the drive out of the Toshiba, the back of the Toshiba, and you should know how to do that. If you don't know how to take your drive out of your laptop or your drives out of your PC, then you probably shouldn't be doing this altogether. So, taking that and putting it into the USB enclosure, that'll plug into a 3.0 port on your computer. And here I'm using an ADATA because I've already done this before with the Samsung, and I just want to demonstrate the process. So here we are taking the SSD out of the box. Everyone should have a fork on your desk for important things like this, and inserting it into the second enclosure. So that works out. If you were doing this with a larger drive, like a 3.5, then you'd have an enclosure for a 3.5 that would plug into the USB port. So here it is plugged into the two USB ports. And note, I'm not using a hub. You want to hook up directly to the system bus and not through a hub. Because it may not work properly through the hub. It may not even be recognized through the hub. So you definitely want to do a direct connect. On my system, I have two 3.0 ports in the front. Now, if you only had 2.0, you could do 2.0. It would just take longer. So here's the acronis software. And you click on clone. You're going to click on recommended unless you really know what you're doing and you want to do it manually. But it does a pretty good job of the whole process. So here you want to make sure you select your source drive. I have 3 other SATA drives in there. I don't want to be cloning those. So the one I'm looking for is the one that's a USB, which is the bottom one. And the capacity is going to match your source drive. In this case, it's 596 or something like that for the source drive. And it's a USB. So, and it wouldn't hurt to unhook other USB drives that are on your system, just so you don't get confused. So now this is going to take a little time. I've kind of deleted it out of the system, but it's going to go and analyze that disk so that it gets ready. And now you have the chance to pick your source. If you just picked your source, now you're going to pick your destination, and that's where you're going to be sending your copy to. In this case, it's going to be the 1 terabyte drive, which for the ADATA, it's 960. And it's also a USB drive, so it helps narrow it down for you. But you could have actually hooked these up on SATA cables in your system if you don't have the drives. And it might transfer faster because you have the 6.0 speed on your SATA cables versus you have 3.0 thereabouts with your USB. But once you hit OK and proceed, and it's off and running. You've just got to be very careful what you're picking so you don't actually end up wiping out your data on a drive that you didn't want to wipe out. So it's fairly simple from that perspective. And then off it goes. And then once it completes, it's going to give you an approximate time, but it's probably not going to be accurate. In this case, it took about 3 hours or more, 3.5 hours. I ended up just letting it run overnight. And then you take if it comes up a successful transfer, you take it and you put it into your device, whether your laptop or your desktop, and you boot it up and see how it works. It's that simple. So now I'll do is I'll go onto the screen and show you what it looks like with acronis. Now, I'm not going to complete the copying clone because I don't want to do a second clone. So I've already done this and it worked. It's just the fact that my video didn't quite come out the way I wanted it to. So I'm just going to show you quickly what the screen looks like and how easy it is. It basically does everything for you. You just have to be careful you select the correct disks, because if you correct the wrong one, you're going to end up wiping off the data off your destination. So be forever warned. So the time for the transfer looks like it's 3 hours. It's being transferred over USB instead of SATA. So, but even if I were able to successfully do it through the laptop, it would be even slower because the laptop doesn't have USB ports on it. So I'm going to check back on this in the morning and see where we're at with it all. In the meantime, I'm going to stop the video. So here we're installing the SSD, the Samsung, into the back of the laptop. We put on the mounting plate. This is pretty simple. It's just a simple plate that mounts on there with 2 screws, and then there's a screw that mounts into the case of the laptop, secured in place. It doesn't loosen up while it's being jostled around. So it's a pretty simple setup. And yeah. It's always good to, use all the screws that you came with it. And then put the battery back in. Of course, you took the battery out, you unplugged it, and you took the battery out before you started taking anything apart in the laptop. And of course, these old laptops, they don't really run with the battery anyway because they've zapped out. So you just want to plug your AC power back in so you have no surprises when it cycles down. Yeah, it's easy. So here's a shot of the laptop. Setting up a good camera angle here. So we're going to show you the initial turning on of the laptop once we change the SSD over from the hard drive. And we're pushing the button now. There you go. I probably should blank out the name. But it's that quick. Wow. Did that boot up like half as fast? Twice as fast. And there we go. Took about 3 hours to do the transfer and copy. I couldn't let it go overnight because I didn't want to wait, but I could have waited. Um, what I should have done is run it over here on my other screen and did a screen capture. I would have gotten a better image of the program being used. But I'm not going to do it again. So, yeah, I just have to do some updates and make sure that Windows is updated because I don't think it's completely updated. So, that's that. So I think overall the project took about 3 hours to do. Most of it was I couldn't get into boot up off of a CD. So it wouldn't let me boot up off of a DVD, and it wouldn't let me boot off of a thumb drive. They've hidden that part on the laptop, and that's an annoying part. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I was looking through online chats, and I couldn't find any kind of reference to doing that. So, doing it on my system was the alternative. So, but it works. And I see something that would boot up. Explorer comes up even though I'm not connected. So I'll connect up through the through my direct connection so they don't have to configure the Wi-Fi. And do updates and stuff like that. Cool. So I think she should be happy. Let's just check our file system here. So we have 500 gigabytes of space free on the drive. I'm going to turn off indexing. So thank you for joining us on this little adventure, and I hope you come and visit, like, subscribe, comment, send fudge, all those good things. Ta-ta for now. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.